Imagine this. You're biting into a Subway tuna sandwich, savoring what you think is fresh, flaky tuna. But what if I told you, it might not be tuna at all? That's right. Two women in California are suing Subway, claiming their famous tuna sandwiches don't contain a single trace of actual tuna. Shocking, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're diving deep into the secrets behind Subway's menu. From their bread that's legally not bread, to their meats that might not be what they seem. Buckle up, because this is one food mystery you won't want to miss. You've probably ordered a Subway sandwich hundreds of times without a second thought. But before you take another bite, let's talk about their bread. In 2020, Ireland's Supreme Court dropped a bombshell. Subway's bread couldn't legally be called bread. Why? Because it contained 5 times more sugar than Irish law allows for bread products. That's right, each footlong packed around 50 grams of sugar, turning your healthy sandwich into something closer to dessert. But sugar wasn't the only eyebrow-raising ingredient. Enter azotocarbonamide, a chemical so complex it sounds like a typo. This industrial additive, also used in yoga mats, was a bread conditioner in Subway's recipe. While Subway eventually removed it, it left us all wondering, why did their bread need to be as flexible as gym equipment? Now let's talk about that iconic Subway smell, the one that makes every mall food court smell like a bakery. Here's the twist. That irresistible aroma isn't from actual bread baking. Nope, it's a manufactured scent pumped through the ventilation system, designed to make you crave freshly baked bread before you even step inside. And while we're bursting bubbles, let's talk about their bread-making process. Subway stores receive pre-mixed dough sticks, loaded with preservatives and conditioning agents. No master bakers kneading dough in the back, just frozen sticks ready to be warmed up. So much for that fresh-baked vibe, huh? Subway's 9-grain wheat bread has fooled countless health-conscious customers into thinking they're making a wholesome choice. But here's the kicker. Food scientists discovered it contains more sugar than many candy bars. That's right. Your healthy sandwich might be sweeter than a Snickers. It's no wonder their sweet onion chicken teriyaki tastes so, well, sweet. This revelation is just the first slice in a much bigger sandwich of surprises. So, what's next? Let's dive into Subway's meat situation. And trust me, it's just as fishy as their tuna. In 2021, lab tests made a shocking discovery about Subway's tuna sandwiches. They couldn't find any tuna DNA, not even a trace. Subway defended their tuna, saying the DNA gets denatured during cooking. While that's technically possible, it left customers wondering, what exactly are we eating? The tuna controversy was just the beginning. A DNA analysis of their chicken revealed something even more surprising. Their chicken strips contained only about 50% chicken DNA. The rest? Mostly soy protein and a buffet of preservatives. Subway insisted their chicken was chicken, just with a generous helping of other stuff mixed in. Sounds appetizing, right? Ever notice how Subway's meats all have a similar taste? There's a scientific explanation for that, and it's not exactly mouth-watering. All their meats arrive pre-cooked, pre-seasoned, and sealed in packages loaded with preservatives and flavor enhancers. This ensures that a turkey sub in Texas tastes exactly like one in Tennessee. But it also explains why their ham, turkey, and chicken can sometimes taste suspiciously alike. The processing doesn't stop at taste. Those perfectly circular chicken patties? They're shaped using industrial molds and high-pressure processing. Food scientists call it restructured meat, a fancy term for meat that's been taken apart and put back together again. Here's a fun fact. Your Subway sandwich has probably traveled further than you have. A typical cold-cut combo contains meat from multiple sources, processed in different facilities, before being combined into one product. The bologna alone can contain meat from up to 7 different processing plants. This extensive processing chain helps Subway keep prices low, but it also means your sandwich is a globe-trotting mystery. While this consistency might be good for business, it's created what food critics call the Subway flavor, a distinct taste that makes different meats oddly familiar. But the questions about Subway's meat processing are just the beginning. As more customers started asking questions, the sandwich chain faced even bigger challenges. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over. Before we dive deeper into Subway's secrets, let's take a quick detour. The only product we'll ever promote on this channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper. His book, 126 Superfoods and Preservation Methods from Crisis Times, is a treasure trove of knowledge from eras like the Great Depression and wartime. These techniques and superfoods are nearly impossible to find elsewhere, and we're the last generation who can pass this wisdom on to our children and grandchildren. It would be a shame to let this invaluable information disappear. If you're curious, check out the link in the description below. Now, back to Subway, because size does matter, at least when it comes to sandwiches. Remember when Subway's customers started bringing measuring tapes to lunch? The Footlong controversy began when an Australian customer discovered their sandwich was only 11 inches long. Before you could say, "Where's my other inch?" customers worldwide turned into amateur sandwich inspectors, sharing photos of their undersized subs online. The legal battle that followed revealed some eyebrow-raising details about Subway's operations. Despite having more rules than a spelling bee championship for their bread-making process, their sandwiches were consistently falling short, literally. A nationwide survey found that about 80% of footlong sandwiches measured less than 12 inches, with some barely reaching 11 inches. Talk about a diet sandwich. When confronted about their shrinking sandwiches, Subway's response was a masterpiece of corporate creativity. They claimed footlong was just a trademark, a marketing term that didn't actually promise a 12-inch sandwich. By that logic, their fresh vegetables could be last week's leftovers, and their Italian herbs could be from Cleveland. Unsurprisingly, this defense went over about as well as a meatball sub on a first date. The lawsuit forced Subway to implement new quality control measures, including requiring franchises to use measuring tools. But even then, they wouldn't guarantee every sandwich would be exactly 12 inches. Their excuse? Bread can shrink or expand during baking. The court allowed for variations of up to half an inch, a margin of error that would make any carpenter switch careers. The settlement cost Subway $520,000 in legal fees and required them to add disclaimers about sandwich sizes on their menus. They spent months updating materials to clarify that sandwich lengths were approximate, which is like saying your homework is approximately done. The company even revised their training manuals to include specific instructions about bread measuring and sandwich assembly, creating what must be the world's most detailed guide to putting stuff between two pieces of bread. The science behind the short sandwiches was surprisingly simple. Bread dough, being the temperamental diva it is, doesn't always cooperate with precise measurements. Factors like temperature, humidity, and altitude can all affect the final size. It's like being shocked that ice cream melts in summer. The repercussions of the footlong controversy stretched far beyond sandwich measurements. As more details emerged about Subway's business practices, customers discovered that incorrect sizing was just the tip of a much larger corporate iceberg. Subway's franchise system has turned out to be tougher to digest than their bread. Opening a single store requires franchise fees ranging from $15,000 to $300,000, and that's just the appetizer. The real meat of the problem lies in Subway's franchise agreements. Store owners are required to buy supplies exclusively from Subway-approved vendors, often at prices higher than local wholesale rates. One franchise owner calculated they were paying 50% more for tomatoes than they would at the local grocery store, and these weren't even magic tomatoes. The financial pressure on franchise owners creates a domino effect. To keep their stores profitable, many owners cut corners faster than they slice cucumbers. Employee wages stay low, training gets rushed, and maintenance might get postponed until something breaks, or a health inspector shows up. Statistics show that the average Subway franchise makes about $31,000 in profit annually, barely enough to cover the cost of sending a kid to college, let alone running a successful business. Employees often bear the brunt of this financial squeeze. Many report working alone during busy shifts, handling everything from sandwich making to cleaning to cashiering. It's like turning the sandwich artist title into a one-person circus act. The average hourly wage for Subway employees hovers around minimum wage, which might explain why some locations have a higher turnover rate than their vegetables. Training sometimes consists of watching a few videos and shadowing another equally inexperienced employee for a day. One former employee reported that their entire food safety training consisted of being told, "If it looks okay, it probably is," a philosophy that would make any health inspector's hair stand on end. But the issues don't stop there. Stay tuned, because Subway's story is far from over, and it's about to get even juicier. Another employee mentioned learning the proper amount of toppings by watching coworkers eyeball it, leading to sandwiches that looked more like abstract art than lunch. The pressure to cut costs has led to some creative interpretations of food safety guidelines. Stories surfaced about employees being told to eyeball expiration dates or scrape off mold and use the good parts of vegetables. One franchise owner even admitted to changing the labels on mayo containers to extend their shelf life, because apparently mayonnaise ages like fine wine. Corporate inspections became more of a performance than a Beatles reunion tour. Employees shared stories of frantic cleaning sprees when word of an upcoming inspection leaked. Suddenly, every surface would sparkle, expired products would vanish, and everyone would remember proper food handling procedures, at least until the inspector left the parking lot. The strain of running a Subway franchise has led many owners to question their investment. But getting out isn't easy. The contracts are harder to escape than a conversation about cryptocurrency. As these stories began to surface, they led to even more troubling discoveries about what was really happening behind Subway's counters. In 2023 alone, over 2,000 Subway locations received critical health code violations. That's more violations than there are toppings in their unlimited veggies selection. The most common offender? Temperature control issues. Health inspectors found meat and cheese sitting out at room temperature for hours, treating the cold cut trio more like a science experiment than a sandwich. One location in Florida kept their tuna salad at a balmy 72 degrees Fahrenheit, apparently trying to evolve it into a new life form. Cross-contamination became an art form at some locations. Employees were caught using the same gloves to handle food and money, because nothing adds flavor to a sandwich quite like the bacteria from a $5 bill. In one memorable case, a store in Ohio used the same cutting board for vegetables and raw chicken, creating an exciting game of food poisoning roulette for their customers. The vegetable washing situation could make a clean freak need therapy. Several stores were cited for simply rinsing their vegetables under cold water for a few seconds, if at all. One health inspector noted that the lettuce still had visible dirt on it, giving eating fresh a whole new meaning. Another found tomatoes being stored in a container that previously held cleaning supplies, perhaps trying to wash them from the inside out. Mold seems to be Subway's unofficial special ingredient. Inspectors discovered it growing in ice machines, on walls, and even behind the sandwich preparation counter. The walk-in coolers often resembled science projects gone wrong, with vegetables decomposing faster than a teenager's bedroom organization skills. The pest situation would make even a New York City rat think twice. Dozens of stores were cited for mouse droppings near food storage areas. One location in Texas had to close temporarily after cockroaches were spotted having their own lunch break at the sandwich prep station. Another store found ants making themselves at home in the sugar container. Apparently, they weren't impressed with the artificial sweeteners. Equipment maintenance often took a back seat to profits. Broken thermometers, malfunctioning refrigerators, and cutting boards with more scratches than a cat lady's furniture were common findings. One inspector noted that a store's meat slicer had accumulated enough old food particles to make its own sandwich. The hand-washing situation was particularly creative. Some stores had soap dispensers that were empty or broken, while others had sinks that looked like they hadn't seen a sponge in years. It's no wonder health inspectors were left shaking their heads, and customers were left wondering what they were really biting into. All these issues paint a troubling picture of what's really happening behind the counter at Subway. From shrinking sandwiches to questionable food safety practices, it's clear that the chain has some serious problems to address. But the bigger question is, will they? Or will they continue to serve up the same old excuses along with their subs? As consumers, it's up to us to demand better, because when it comes to our food, we deserve more than just a catchy slogan and a manufactured smell. Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and we're just getting started. Some stores took cost cutting to a whole new level. Soap dispensers were filled with water instead of soap, a move that would make any germaphobe break out in hives. Other locations had perfectly good hand-washing stations that were blocked by boxes, equipment, or, in one spectacular case, a stack of expired bread that nobody wanted to throw away. These health violations painted a troubling picture of what was happening inside Subway's kitchens. But for the sandwich chain, an even bigger storm was brewing, one that would shake the entire franchise to its core. Subway's expansion strategy read like a fast food version of a gold rush. Since 2015, over 5,000 locations have shut down permanently. More closures than most fast food chains have total stores. In 2023 alone, 700 stores switched off their ovens, packed up their cookie displays, and called it quits. The root of the problem? Subway's anywhere and everywhere approach to growth. They stuffed stores into every nook and cranny of America, like olives in a chopped salad. One town in Pennsylvania ended up with 6 locations within a 2-mile radius. Gas stations, strip malls, converted phone booths. If it had 4 walls and a roof, Subway probably tried to stick a store there. This store-spreading spree created a battlefield where franchise owners had to fight for customers like seagulls over a dropped sandwich. New locations kept popping up so close to existing ones that they started stealing each other's customers. One owner reported that his sales dropped by 40% when another Subway opened in the same shopping center. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. The financial damage hit hard. Average store revenue plummeted from $480,000 to $350,000 in just 10 years. Some locations started seeing fewer daily customers than a vegetarian steakhouse. Owners found themselves working double shifts just to keep the lights on, all while watching their savings disappear faster than cookies from the display case. The situation got so bad that selling a Subway franchise became harder than explaining why anyone needs 3 different types of Italian meat on one sandwich. Corporate maintained strict control over who could buy existing stores, leaving many owners trapped in a business they couldn't escape. Some locations were worth less than their initial startup costs, making them about as valuable as a lifetime supply of expired mayo. The desperation led to some creative survival attempts. One owner tried running his store entirely by himself for 6 months, essentially becoming a one-man sandwich making machine. Another converted half their seating area into a mini convenience store, hoping that selling chips and soda would make up for falling sandwich sales. As thousands of Eat Fresh signs come down across America, they leave behind empty storefronts and cautionary tales about the true cost of rapid expansion. The story of Subway's rise and fall serves as a reminder that even the biggest empires can crumble. From shrinking sandwiches to questionable ingredients, from franchise wars to health code violations, Subway's journey is a stark lesson in what happens when growth is prioritized over quality and sustainability. So, the next time you're craving a sub, maybe think twice, because behind that familiar logo, there's a story that's anything but fresh.